Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us and thanks for your patience even as we carry on a very interesting conversation. We have Charles Owino, former police spokesperson, and Hassan Omar, former senator, Mombasa. They believe they'll be changing their title soon, depending on what the voters will decide. Remember, 22422 is the SMS line. The hashtag is NEWSNIGHT. Charles, before the break, I was about to allow you to change the topic for us. But let me ask you a question in regards to that. Why are you doing this?
Doing what?
You declared at some point last year that you want to vie for elective office.
Yes.
What is this spark that sends people into politics?
Politics is everything about life. Because basically what politics means is you get power and you use that power to create wealth and distribute it to people. That is what it means. So that is the drive to get power and use that power to develop people. Because today as a policeman, I have limits. You've just seen how Hassan can attack the man I'm supporting. I would be supporting for presidency. And there's very little I can do. But you see, if I would be fully in the platform of politics like him, then you can know how much I would answer him. But basically, I've done my work for 29 years as a policeman, and I think I've done my level best as a policeman, and therefore, this is simply a transition from what I usually do to become a politician. And equally, we are born with ambitions to grow in whatever we want to do. And remember the position we are looking for, which Hassan is also looking for. The position of the governor is a position that is not quite political. It's a position that you're supposed to come down and work for your people and try to improve on their standards of living.
Okay, Hassan, same question to you. What keeps the flame burning, especially after having lost an elective seat, to say, I still want to give this another shot?
First, what I have done is not to attack anybody. I have simply stated statements of fact. Some of them might appear as attacks, but they are statements of fact. It's part of the political discoursing that we normally have. People stating their positions as candidly and as passionately as it can, so that the other side also can know that we are aware and we are vigilant. But then the second part is, as Owino says, power is the means for you to do good. You have all these brilliant ideas that are in your mind. You know your interest and your heart is at public service. And half the time you are doing advocacy work. But I remember one of an extremely important conversation we had with Dr. Willie Mutunga before he became Chief Justice and before I became Senator. He convened a retreat for civil society. And I recall that he says we must now bring our ideas and our values and our policies and positions into the realm of public policy. And we must do one of these two things. Either be able to pull the strings of political power or compete for political power. I chose the part of competing because I thought it is more effective. Pulling the strings means you have to bootlick too many policymakers to get the things done. But to compete for power and getting power, when you have an agenda for the public, I believe I have a very passionate and deliberate agenda for the public. My activism, which Owino talked about, my history in human rights, is the basis upon which I saw the need to get into public office, including elective or competitive electioneering processes, so that these values and these principles and these agendas you've picked about social justice, about empowerment of the vulnerable, about protection of the weak, about putting in policies that offer services and corruption-free policies, that articulates a certain legacy and leaves your people in a better place, became the mainstay of my politics. So I didn't get into politics because I have so suddenly thought Mombasa can be turned into a Dubai, or because I said I have a pile of money and therefore I can go and compete for an election, or that I have a name, as some people in politics have a name, either their fathers or their uncles or some family legacy that they want to protect, including family wealth. So we got into it because we want to prosecute an agenda. And then sometimes, based on the complexity of power, you always have to continue evolving and looking for allies. So in terms of facing Kenya's existential threat, or to move Kenya to the next level, Kenya has a very progressive 2010 constitution. So the political freedom is hardly realized when economic freedom or economic advantage is not shared. And therefore, I thought there was a compelling agenda by the Hustler Nation, the UDA, in terms of how to start taking wealth or to start taking money into the economy or to the people, so that they can be able to better their livelihoods. I think. And I don't say it, you know, I also come from the bottom. I came from a poor family. Our parents labored hard to see us through schooling, and education became the only means for us to at least better our lot. And through this education, you acquired some ideas. You acquired allies who like when I was in the university, I believed in myself as a Marxist. We formed a movement to try and oust Moi at that time and joined forces with other progressive individuals across the country. And that's why people ask you why at what you found Raila, or you found Rengo, or you found somebody. And you run a race until a certain point, and then your allies tend to sometimes regenerate. You know, you evolve into something different. You make up your own minds, you make up your own decisions. So I realized it was a foolhardy or tall order to say that we can change the state of things in Mombasa by simply being complicit. So we wanted a movement that was, rather than preserve the status quo, disrupt the status quo. So I think what the Hustler Nation is about disrupting the status quo in favor of the vulnerable and the disenfranchised of society, by bringing them some wealth to their livelihoods.
And I think what concerns many Kenyans who never get involved in politics is the changing ideologies. There's never a consistency of ideologies, which is what you'll see in the police force, very clear what they're all about, in the human rights movement, but politics, different ball game altogether. Charles, are you ready for that?
I don't think so. What I think is that the trajectory is one. That basically, as we've said it, politics is about gaining power, because it is that power that you can use to improve and change on the lives of your people. You must ask yourself, how come other developed countries have reached that level? That people are strictly involved in matters of policy that ought to be done. For example, the county where I come from, the Siaya County, has been a #1 county for very many years. In the 70s, in the 80s, in terms of academics, in terms of resources, and a number of things. And yet, currently, you can see we are coming down quite a lot. But basically, if you look at our...
we haven't seen that data. You'll present again. I asked Omar for data. I hope he'll also present data.
It's okay. If you look at our history for a very long time, we have been a community that has many a times have been in the forefront for agitation. And in the process of agitating, a number of reforms came about. But unfortunately, when these reforms come about, our counties or our communities have not gained much, because you see, politics as it is, it was said, siasa mbaya maisha mbaya. So you find that much of resources are controlled at the national level, and therefore you'd find a number of opportunities, a lot of resources are not exploited. And that is why we are looking at a country where anybody who is going to lead this country as a president is going to look at the country in its holistic nature. That what is it that we can invest in Kilifi? What are the resources that are in Kilifi that can be exploited? What are the resources that are in Kwale that can be exploited? What are the resources that are in Lamu that can be exploited? What are the resources that are in Turkana and the rest? It is not a situation of a winner gets it all. You don't win for yourself and your friends. You win for the rest of the population of the country.
Let's talk about
I just want to put it shortly.
I have a question
all of
for
us,
you.
just a minute, before you ask the question. All of us, we have a very short life. People who reach the life of Honorable Njonjo, 101 are very few. It's a fraction that you cannot count. And therefore, we ought to ensure that we remind ourselves that we should be able to develop a country where we can be able to exploit our resources and make money and be happy, all of us. Because when you leave other people to be poor and you are rich, that is why you are finding that all of us, we have big walls around our homes, we have CCTVs, we are miserable. We live in cages. Your home is a prison.
Let me
and that's
bring
not what we are looking for.
And I like where you're taking us, and we'll have these discussions, especially after the nominations stage. But let's talk about the nomination. The first real test for many Kenyans who are leaving public office, private sector, to go into politics. You know how nominations have historically been.
Yes.
Like in the past, controversial, contested, often they end in tears. Are you prepared for for the nomination process of the party that you will choose to vie on?
First of all, to have taken risk to become a policeman was a real risk, because it's a job where even when you get a girlfriend and she wants to introduce you to her parents, she thinks twice. The parents would ask, a policeman of all the people? So I've done a more risky job, a job that you leave your house and you don't know whether you'll come back alive or you'll be killed. I'm prepared, I'm ready to put my head on the rail. The future is very brilliant, the future is very good. Nobody can stop us from leading this country if God has put it for us, Hassan, I can tell you. So the issue of nominations does not bother me. What bothers me is, are the people of Siaya ready to elect me? Remember, people fought even for the repeal of Section 2A. We are in a multi-party democracy, and therefore the issue of nomination is not a problem.
You've said something very interesting in the midst of all that. So for you, yes, you could move parties if you feel you're...
Yes, it is. Let me ask you, Honorable Kraitu Murungi has been elected 6 times in 6 different parties. It's not a question of which party you are elected in. It is a question of getting elected and serving your people. Well, I'm quite ambitious, and I'm quite ambitious. In fact, I'm not thinking of just becoming a governor and leaving it there.
What next? So there's only 1 or 2 other seats beyond that.
What do you mean? When you live for the better. When you grow, be ambitious. It's only your height that you may not control going up, okay, because you have the genes. But when it comes to upward mobility in terms of politics or in terms of wealth, because we were born very poor. Okay,
let me allow Hassan to come in. I'm coming back to you. You're saying some interesting things, but you're evading my question. Hassan, for you, nomination process?
I didn't know we wanted to become the Secretary General of the UN. And just in a light
whatever it is.
Anyway, that's said and done. I think UDA has set up an infrastructure that will guarantee a free and fair nomination process across the country. It's the one thing that we have deliberated with a lot of passion, because we know how disastrous nominations cost the party. And we are probably the only party that has the guts and the courage to go it alone. And we have the majority of the Kenyan people supporting the UDA. So I think it would be important for us to have a free and fair election. I think we've put an infrastructure that guarantees a democratic electioneering process. And therefore, when somebody is persuaded that justice has actually been done, I think you asked that question very passionately, because there is hardly any fair nominations in ODM. But we will do a very, very good job. It is an assurance, the highest assurance of how we will make sure that we retain the movement in its one piece as we head into the election. And the one thing for me why I will never leave the UDA. I did not join the UDA. I and other hustlers put together the UDA. This is a party we have formed. When people tell me, uliacha ODM ukaingia UDA, I was actually in Wiper. And then I and other Kenyans, people from ODM, Kina Aisha Jumwa, people from Kina Muhammad Ali Independent, William Ruto from Jubilee, a myriad of people from other parties came together to form the UDA.
What are you? So you are shareholders of UDA?
We are part of the membership of UDA. No, UDA, after its registration, embarked on the process of registration of members. We have now almost hitting the 4.55 million mark, so that we become a membership-driven organization. We didn't want a party that is driven by cartels or nominees. We want a party that is driven by its members. Okay. So a lot of us are now in the process of forming this party into a movement. You see, the UDA is a political organization of the hustler nation. There are a lot of hustlers out there who are not yet members of the UDA but support the hustler motif. And we hope that then they will regularize their membership, because we ultimately have to compete for power if we must meet our desire.
At the end of the day, however, when nominations do get heated, everyone looks up to the party leader for leadership. And you've had the Deputy President himself saying, I will personally take charge of nominations this time round. Would you have a message to him as an aspirant who says he's vying under the UDA party this evening? What's your message to him?
I want to believe that William Ruto is very committed as we call him, Bill, is very committed to victory and is committed to propelling the most popular candidates for the most popular seats. He has even talked to a number of his friends, ourselves included, asema lazima ujisaidie wewe mwenyewe huko chini. So you have to go and meet and prosecute the ground in your own strength. So therefore, I don't think there will be any sacred cows. You have seen even some movements into the party that have caused some implosion where people have exited. Waiguru comes in because we are a massive movement. Waiguru comes in, Gereshi leaves. I'm having to face a situation where I have to receive Joho's brother, blood brother, as senator candidate and a senate aspirant in UDA, because it's become a mass movement, and mass movement must be able to welcome the mass with open hands and then assure them of the highest sense of fairness.
Charles,
anyway,
if you choose to go for it under ODM.
No, I want to confirm to you.
Okay.
That I will go for nominations as a member of the ODM party.
Okay.
And Azimio.
Do you have a message to your party leader?
Yes,
I asked him
the position is very clear. ODM has a very vibrant election board that has been put in place. And they have, every party, I think, has deposited to IBC their nomination process. And the party leader for ODM has said that they would have a number of processes, starting with consensus, if members, the aspirants can agree, and then they would move to other levels, including universal suffrage. But equally, you must remember, and you must live with reality, that in our countries, or in these third world countries, parties are clubs. Yes, and therefore, given that, look,
you've put them all in the same.
Yes, UDA, parties are clubs. Yes, in fact, I will not be surprised if Hassan leaves UDA after August elections, especially if the party I'm intending to join forms government. I'll call him back because I know the brains he has. I know how he moved from the other party to this one because he could not get his nomination through his party, and therefore that's why he calls it undemocratic. But I want to say that I'm a strong candidate. I would also want to believe, without chest thumping, that I'm a front runner in CI elections as a governor, and therefore it will be upon the party that I choose to carry out a vibrant democratic nominations, because I want to believe my party leader has fought quite a lot, and I'm sure God cannot forgive him if he goes ahead and carries out a democratic nomination process, because he's fought for it. You know, you cannot fight for democracy all these years, get jailed, get into trouble. You know, last time Hassan was cheering when he was eating a lot of tear gas. Today Hassan is worried that he may fall in that category. But what I'm saying is that I want to believe that my supposedly party leader has fought for democracy for a very long time. And I want to believe that he would not be mad to allow his party carry out a nomination that would not be appropriate.
Okay.
But if the party, I'm saying that this is a club. Me, I'm just leaving police and joining politics. Hassan has been there for a longer period of time. But remember, all of us, we have a democratic right. But if the party chooses to pick on, for example, it would be unfair to ask us to pay for nominations, go for nominations, while you know very well that maybe there's a candidate that you prefer. It would just be important if you prefer a candidate and you want direct nomination. It would just be good for a party to say, this is the person we want, and you'll be told that you can get another party if you so want, or remain with us.
With wisdom, with knowledge of...
So what I'm saying is...
Yes.
What I'm saying is very clear.
Fine, briefly, please. I need to allow him to...
Yes, that I know the belief of the community where I come from and the people that I want to lead.
Okay.
And therefore, most importantly, as a person who wants to win his seat, I'll go for the party that is most popular in my region.
Okay.
And the party that is most popular in my region is ODM. That is the most popular party. And I believe that we will go through a process that will see us through. And I've just told you that I'm convinced that there is no candidate that is doing better or will do better than me.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I think Wino presents this club theory because of how he has seen political parties being managed before. UDA, in its conceptual phases, has been born out of the experiences we've seen. Let's say the experiences of Jubilee, where an overbearing party leader can strangulate a party and an impotent secretary general just scuttle the biggest party in the country and make it a peripheral party.
And yet the leader of UDA has been blamed for the bungled, quote-unquote, nominations in 2017. A lot of members of parliament, for example, from Central Kenya say in 2017, Deputy President William Ruto was in charge of
what I've seen is a lot, you know,
stones could be thrown either way.
But just to finish on that matters of elections, we saw what the ODM is doing. So we've decided to build an organization that borrows from experience in a positive sense to ensure that this party is not managed as ODM, it's not managed as Jubilee or any other village party like that we see. I don't want to scandalize any. But that said and done.
Why is it only ODM? You know, he has just
ODM,
given you a very good example.
But just let me finish my point now. Please, you've spoken so much about people and the most popular party.
Hassan,
but I wanted to
Hassan, you know, Hassan, I want you to be fair.
You're not. Let him be the moderator of this interview, please. You just listen. If there is a way in which,
too much.
But you talked so much before I did. In fact, Wahiga was at pains to try and intervene. So it is based on that. What I realized, this is my own take. Everything between 2013 to 2017 that happened in Jubilee and the Jubilee government was blamed on William Ruto. Be it the corruption, be it the botched nomination, be it everything. Now William Ruto was pushed away by Uhuru from government. Functions transferred to Matiang'i. Who are they blaming now? Half of the time you see it's, they have no fall guy. So William Ruto in the first Jubilee administration, and I told him that you took a lot of flake. I would see him sometimes even as a person of the code alignment, defending things that sometimes was just on the basis of the collective responsibility. So after the 2013 to 2017, now we have this phase. So who has brought down Jubilee to its knees? Who is presiding over all this corruption now that William Ruto is out of government? Who is presiding over a collapsed economy now that William Ruto is out of government? Who is presiding over these state transgressions on citizens and individual rights of citizens? Who is presiding over the extrajudicial disappearances of young Kenyans across the country? Who is intimidating political opponents and to the handshake faith? So I think there was a time when William Ruto conveniently became the fall guy of everybody, including ourselves. I do recall half the time it was easier to blame it on William Ruto because you hardly, Uhuru was usually a reclusive leader. Even right now, they have nobody to blame. So you start saying it is Atuoli, it is Murathe, it is Tuju, it is, what's this other guy, it is Matiang'i, but because they have no center anymore to blame.
You just started this interview by saying it's Raila as well.
Raila came in, Raila came as he calls Uhuru his brother, and the Raila supporters are always bragging in social media and everywhere else that they are the Sirkal, including some of those who are in government.
Okay.
And as I said, Raila has taken seats in government, through appointments in public parastatals, in cabinet.
What I want to tell Hassan is that me, I come from a community that has been in agitation for a very long time, and we have been in opposition for a very long time. And as a community, we are not ready to go back to opposition. The only thing is we are praying that we reach a level where we are going to unite this country so that we can exploit the resources of this country and put it on one basket, whereby each and every Kenyan would be able to have something on the table to eat. We want people to have money in their pockets. We want people to have food on their tables.
How?
But, yeah, through exploitation of resources.
How?
What do you mean by how?
How? You know, you have to give,
I just explained.
Is it giving them 6,000 shillings?
No. I just explained a few minutes ago that we are looking for a situation where whoever becomes president is going to understand that we need, we are not going to unite this country by blaming one another. For example, we must have principles. If you are in a government and truly you are so annoyed the way you are annoyed, and you feel this government is not doing a good thing, always the best thing, you just resign and leave that government. But it would be hypocritical to hang on. So you're posing a challenge to... Yes, it will be hypocritical. Deputy President William Ruto, all those leaning to... In fact, it will be very... I'm talking to him. I've not heard the Deputy President speak. I've heard him speak. But I'm saying the best thing is when a government is that bad, as you put it, the best thing is just to resign and leave that government. And be a strong man. I remember in I think 2003, 2004, when Raila Odinga felt that his party, Ford Kenya, was not doing well, he just resigned. He left the party, went, formed his party, and came back to Parliament. There was that window. But what we are saying is, because I'm coming from the point of civil service, I want politicians to stop wrangling. I want us to sell our policies. Like now we are going for elections. Let us not go blaming people who are not even in government. Let us project and look at how we are going to unite our country. We are just going for elections. And the best thing that we should be talking about is how we can have a peaceful election. Let's go for election. May the best man win. Okay. And when the best man the best man wins, may that best man ensure that we look at Turkana and say, these are the resources in Turkana that we can exploit. Just a minute. These are the resources in Kisii. These are the resources in Mombasa, in wherever part of this country, in Central Province that we can exploit. So that we come up with systems where, because I know most people are very good at speaking before they get into offices. And when they get into offices, they do the opposite. Okay. So Hassan, what I'm praying for, look at me on my face.
Just address...
because this is our country. And we are going nowhere. No, excuse me. This is our country. Yes. And we are going nowhere. Whether it is ODM or UDA or which party wins. Yes. We belong to this country. Okay. And the most important thing... No, I'm going to stop you now. No, don't stop me. The most important... You gave us a lot of time. The most important thing is let us treat one another as brothers and look for ways and means of bringing our country to unity. Let us not fight so much for power unnecessarily without trying to bring our brothers together. Okay. So that we can be able to exploit our resources, we can be able to make money, everybody can be rich, everybody can be happy, and we live well before we die. All right, let's stop you there. That's all that I can say. Go ahead.
If it is William Ruto that is talking about directly or indirectly about resigning from government.
And there is a question of you publicly stating that he is out of government. As I sit
within that ecosystem of the Hustler Nation UDA and is our leader, I am strongly against his resignation from this government. This government was not formed like previous governments where a president runs and then he appoints a deputy. This government was formed out of the sweat and blood of everybody who participated, and the reason we tied a running mate to it has constitutional reasons, that you are tied to the hip to your deputy. You cannot reap off your deputy's benefit and get you votes and put in his hard work and energy and then try to be treasonable or exclusive in terms of the management of government. So I think William Ruto is in government as deputy president by right. His DNA in terms of the formation of this government, including his efforts, sweat and blood, is quantifiable. But number two, let me tell you how we intend to do this. That's why I was asking of the how question. You see, this country has had an economic model that is called trickle-down for a long time, since independence. We now want to revolutionize that economic model to bottom up. We have realized that about 64% of Kenyans below the age of 30, in our research, are attempting to run a business. What these young Kenyans, including those above that age bracket, are trying to do is to open up small-scale SMEs, be they boutique, Mambo ya Mitumba, be they saloons, be they kinyozi, electronics, fishmongering, mama mboga, and many others. And what most of them do not have, or have no access to, is operational capital. Either they have Shylocks in the name of Fuliza and those type of loans that are extremely exploitative, or have no access to credit on the basis that conventional banks wouldn't listen to them. So what we are saying is we want to put money into the economy, bottom, so that we are able to give this working nation, this hustler nation, because they're already hustler-nated, some working capital to be able to realize their dreams. And so that they can build their small shops and progressively grow them into supermarkets and get markets for that.
And I'm not trying to put down anything about what you're speaking. I'm sure economists out there could go back and forth on that. I think what many Kenyans struggle with is that a majority of the leadership of UDA or Hustler Nation have been in government, sat in crucial parliamentary committees, sat at top decision-making levels in this country, and wonder, where were all those ideas when they were in power, so to speak?
First and foremost, I've realized...
No, can I just say something?
Let me pose that for viewers.
Please, let me answer it, please.
Briefly, please, in the interest of time.
First and foremost, a lot of these leaders, you have to realize that part of the buck stops with the president, not even the presidency, the president. But I'll answer it in this particular way. Kibaki was a totally different president from him as Moi's vice president. He is actually credited for the revolution we had, albeit for a short-lived time, about how the economy in this country grew. Young people for the first time owned their businesses, owned their little pieces of land, were able to buy real estate and stuff of that nature. We saw a lot of liquid that flowed in the market. He couldn't have done that under Moi's regime, because Moi also was driven by a certain set of agenda or visions. Secondly, in addition to that, Suluhu was the vice president of Magufuli. In less than a year of becoming president, Suluhu has changed everything, including Magufuli's cabinet. So when it demonstrates to you, in fact, the vice president under the Tanzanian constitution is almost similar to the vice president in Kenya, because it's a constitutional office that you have to take as running mate. Suluhu changed the taxation regime. She told TRA, go easy on the business persons. She accepted COVID and went into some COVID mechanisms to protect the lives and livelihoods of the people of Tanzania. She changed cabinet. So people must be given the principal role of leadership for us to see how they can prosecute their leadership.
I think I'll take the risk of even losing my job. And because you have spoken for UDA so much, I want to speak briefly for Raila Amolo Odinga, who is the leader of ODM. Raila has a very good record in this country, and more so fighting for democracy. And he has put his life on the rail to fight for democracy in this country. He has lost a lot. He lost a lot of his years in prison, and at the same time, he has sacrificed a lot, including his family. For that reason, I want to believe that if he becomes the president of this country, he's going to look at this country differently. He's going to ensure that every part of this country, its resources is exploited and the money put together. And I want to believe that we are going to have Hassan Omar in his government when he becomes president, because he's somebody that he forgives most of the time. You have record, you know how he worked with President Moi during the end of his tenure. You know how much he has come back to work with President Kenyatta. I don't think he's a person who is going for favors. He loves his country and he wants his country to do well. For the many years that Mzee has worked, I want to pray for him and wish him the best of luck to be the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. So that young men like Hassan Omar, who have supported him before and have decided to misread him, can be able to grow. And Hassan Omar, I hope, as we grow together for our many years to come, 20 or 30 years in politics, we are going to grow this country and we are going to make it better. Let us learn from our mistakes. As we grow Hassan Omar, we will learn from our mistakes, because any person, history is the essence of autobiographies. And as we grow and as we as we are going to grow this country, we must accept that we learn from history, and for the mistakes that either of us have made, we will be able to correct them.
Okay.
And my brother, I hope that as we grow together, we are going to reconcile this country and make sure that we
I'll give you a parting shot each.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's take the SMSs. We'll just read a few in the interest of time and get final thoughts from my guest in terms of a parting shot. This is what you're saying on 22422, our SMS line, and on Twitter as well, using the hashtag Newsnight. Engineer Lazaro Kanyambok, you say Kenyans are wondering why the gubernatorial seat is attracting so many candidates, more possibly than any other position. Anyway, peaceful, based campaign based on issues is what we're expecting from them. Parties should conduct free and fair nominations. Okay, Engineer Lazaro Kanyambok, thanks for that. Uche Ade, you say someone is accused of land fraud but is arrested like a Taliban. The police service needs to carry out their duties with some decorum. Okay, in response to the story that we carried earlier on. And Daniel Musao says, instead of all the time and resources wasted to confine and arrest Mr. Jimmy Waidi, and they use the same criteria to maintain law and order in Lamu and Marakwet respectively. Also inquire what's happening in River Yala, I believe. But remember, Owino is not here in his capacity, as you knew him previously, as police spokesperson. So he may decline to choose not to answer some of those questions. On our SMS line 22422, RK says, a very insightful discussion. Refreshing to listen to passion paired with intellect and enlightening to also unmask psychophancy in its true colors. Someone else saying here, great talk. We're really happy to hear that. Let me see here what else you are saying as well. And people here just wishing both of you well, depending on how your journeys will go. Let's get some final thoughts from each of you. Hassan, you've walked this political journey before. As you give us your parting shot, any advice for Owino?
First and foremost, I don't need any forgiveness from anybody because I have not done anybody any wrong. I have pursued my political thoughts studiously.
And remember, this is your parting shot. Final word. Okay?
So studiously. I think we people who have come from the very bottom, the people of the downtrodden ilk, the disenfranchised, have finally found some voice and space and cobbled ourselves a political organization and movement that is really intent on ensuring that we leave generations to come of the Kenyans who are of the downtrodden, the poor, the weak, the ones who are unemployed, the workers, in a better place and in a better position. I think we have an opportunity more than ever now to restore our country, to end the era of a few elites presiding over our lives almost unmitigated, the tribal cabals that populate our politics, to issue-based politics, to erode the divisions and the malice and the hatred we see of ethnicity, so that we can build formidable political alliances based on ideas and formations that regenerate our nation and our constitutional order. So I'm very hopeful that we, both as Mombasa governor and as the Hustler Nation government at the top, we will have some reciprocal capacity to be able, through our mandate in the county government, to better off the lives of our people, restore the port economy and a few other areas of unemployment, and then with the Hustler Nation government to start now to take money to the bottom of the prism, so that we can put money into the economy and uplift the lives of our people through a very systematic program of ensuring that all Kenyans are dignified and have the right to basic needs and to access to health care, to food, to shelter, and education. Okay,
final word. Any advice for
any advice?
Any advice for
no, I like Owino personally. I think he's a good man, and I wish him very well. You have to mitigate the political waters with resilience. One of the reasons I have taken the decisions that I have taken is because they say that you never say never in politics, but there are roads that I never wish to go back to. It's only a forward movement. I have walked in the paths of many a politician. I have made an assessment. The only other route is to move forward. So therefore, you will be pushed to make very hard decisions in your life, and you must take them.
Final word, Owino.
Number one, I want to assure Kenyans that as I leave the police, I'm aware and I'm sure that the police service is prepared for the next coming general elections. And they have put everything possible to ensure that we have a peaceful election. It is only important that Kenyans should also try their level best to ensure that they go through a peaceful election, so that we don't give our police service a difficult time. But for the people of Siaya, I would just want to tell them that I've already said that I'm coming, and the most important thing is that we want to push our county to go back to our #1 status. We are a very important county in history. We have led in agitation in this country. We have done quite a lot for this country, and it is important that we exploit our resources together and ensure that we get richer, we get better, we exploit all the resources we have from the intellect content that we have been lucky to have from that part of the country. And therefore, I just want to wish all Kenyans all the best when they are coming to elect their leaders. Let them take votes. The vote is very important. Let them go out and vote their leaders. Don't stay home, fail to vote your leader, and then tomorrow come up saying that your leader has been rigged.
Okay.
Otherwise, I wish all Kenyans the best of luck. Let's look forward. Let's have more young people coming to fight for these positions.
Okay.
Because together, we are going to grow as a country. We are going to make our country better. But the last thing I would want to say, that as a person who comes from the community of one of the individuals who have really fought to lead this country, we will not allow Raila Amolo Odinga to be a tribal president. We would always want to remind him that for what he has fought for is what he will die for. And I am sure that Raila Amolo Odinga, as the 5th president of this country, is going to ensure that every part of this country, the resources are exploited equitably, and every Kenyan gets money in his pocket through hard work and gets food on his table.
Okay.
We wish the best of luck.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
may the best candidate win.
May the best candidate. You have no advice for Hassan Omar?
Hassan is my friend. My only fear, I know he's principled, and sometimes principles make you lose severally, but I hope in the long run he will achieve his objective.
Thank you. We're going to have to wrap it up there. Thank you. What a conversation we had. We started off a bit of a slow start there with the challenges, but it's been a fulfilling conversation nevertheless, at least from a lot of the feedback that we're getting this evening. Thanks so much for having tuned in, and thanks to my guests. We've had Hassan Omar, former Senator Mombasa. He says he wants to play a bigger role there at that county, and he'll be rolling out more of his plans, I guess, moving forward. Together with former police spokesperson Charles Owino, now wants to play a different role at the county of Siaya. And of course, gents, thank you so much for your time this evening. Thank you for all our viewers who've tuned in, wherever you are watching us from in Kenya and around the world. Asante sana. On behalf of the whole team that's made this broadcast possible. And of course, my sign language interpreters patiently working here with me, Wilson Mushora. Thank you so much for having tuned in. Have a good night. Stay safe. And as always, here on Newsnight, we'll be having conversations like this as we dissect the issues that affect this country in the run-up to the 2022 general election. Good night. Stay safe. We'll see you soon.